I'm very excited about today's interview because I've been talking off and on about DNA damage. You know, a lot of people don't realize that our DNA is very fragile and we are constantly damaging our DNA by things that we do. But the body is all the things we do just to run the body. The metabolism of the body is also damaging our DNA. So DNA damage is the norm. And fortunately, the body has a lot of repair mechanisms. It can repair the DNA damage, and there's so all the good things that we do are helping repair that. Now, my guest is Natalie Jill, and she has a whole new insight, I think, into a way to repair DNA damage. So that's what we're really going to be talking about, not really anymore about DNA damage. We're going to talk about repairing it. And Natalie, thank you so much for joining. I know you have a great following, a huge following, a very busy schedule. I should probably have introduced you and tell people that your gift really is in helping women find out what, is holding them back and finding their passion and just leveling up. I mean, that's your podcast, Leveling Up. To really be their amazing best self, the potential that we all have inside of us. So thank you for joining us and sharing your wisdom.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. It's funny when people say, what do you do to me? I used to say it depends on the day, but I'm super clear now that what I really do is I help women take years off how they look, think, and feel. And I say look, think, and feel because so many women, especially as they're aging, they get very caught up in how they look or how they think that they look. And what I know to be true is that it always starts with your belief of what's possible for you first.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, that is so spot on. Perfect. Well, I'm going to just let you kind of run with this. The book is called Aging in Reverse. I have the book right here. When you sent me a copy and I started reading it, I was so impressed.
Thank you.
Everything that you say, as far as nutrition advice and so on, I completely agree with it. I was thrilled that you mentioned how important vegetables, eating a lot of vegetables, but even fermenting foods. I was really thrilled to see that because I've been a proponent for them for 30 years. But the other things that you bring in are so important, and no one writes. This is not your typical nutrition book, in other words. So can you just kind of run with, what do you mean even by aging in reverse? What does that mean?
Yeah, that's right. So, when you're a kid, if anyone watching this right now, listening, when you were a kid, you had this amazing wonder and belief that anything was possible at some point in your childhood. I have a 12-year-old daughter and I'm just watching her now at age 12 where it starts to fade away. But I'm talking when you're really young, like think of like 7, 8, you really believe anything is possible. You want to be a princess when you grow up. You want to be the queen. You want to be whatever. You have no limitations on why you can't, why something won't work, why something's not possible. And you also don't really have a sense of time. You're very present. And if you don't remember that, I'm sure those listening and watching, you have a grandkid or a child or the neighbor's children you can watch, and you'll see this sense of presence and contentment and confidence. It's a really strong confidence. And then life sort of happens.
Can I stop? Because I know people are listening to what you're saying right now, and they're saying, well, that wasn't me. I grew up in a family where nobody encouraged me. No, I wasn't believing in myself.
Totally.
Can you just speak to that?
Yeah. So then I would say before that, there was a time, maybe it was as a baby, maybe it was a toddler. There was a time before things started happening and you started forming stories around it. There was a time, a moment that you were. If you can't recall it for yourself, look at another child in your life and observe what I'm talking about. What sort of happens is we are born with really basic needs. We want to be loved. We want to feel safe, basic needs. And then things happen to us and we create stories around what happens to us and we form a belief system based on our experiences. So Donna, your model of the world versus my model of the world versus my husband, we've all had different experiences happen to us. So we have different views of what would work or not work for us based on those stories. So when I say aging in reverse, yes, I have a part of that that's very physical in how we look and feel, but there's a greater part in how we think. Because when I can get adults to bring back on that childlike wonder of possibility, that things will work out, that they could be present and they can get confidence back up, that's when you truly start aging in reverse and things start thriving and working in all areas of your life, including the way your body is functioning, looking, and feeling.
Well, how do you do that? Because that sounds
Yeah.
wonderful. We
Yeah.
all need that.
Yeah. So there's a method. There's an actual method. And I go through this a lot in my book and in my programs, but I'm going to give you sort of the big picture of the method. And these are things that anyone listening could take away and sort of start. The number one is it's literally a decision. It's making a decision that what you want is possible. You see, a lot of times people will reach out and say, Natalie, I want to lose weight and nothing's worked for me before. Nothing works for me. Like, what do you have? Or they'll say, I've tried everything and, it's just such
I
a
hear that.
scam out there. Or
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go on no carbs. Or they have these extreme stories of what is going to work or not going to work. And that to me is not a decision. That's a trial. A decision is I am ready to release this weight, or I am ready to get rid of the pain. I am ready to step into a bigger vision for me. I am ready to look, think, and young, feel young again. So it starts with a decision. It's not a trial or a question or what do you have for me? It's a decision that this is my year that I'm going to master this.
So
That's
it's
step
not
one.
about I'm going to be thinner or younger. It's not the be. I'm going to think that I'm thinner and younger. So it starts with the thinking, or
So no, the B is too. It's more. It's not the doing. It's not the I just need to follow a meal plan again and let's see because nothing works for me. That's not a
Mhm.
decision. So when people say I want to lose weight but nothing's worked for me, but give me your meal plan, I'll try it. Like that's not a
Mhm. Mhm.
decision. A decision is I'm releasing the weight this year. This is an example. I'm releasing the weight this year. I'm going to do whatever it takes. It's happening. And
Mhm.
everything around me is going to support me for that. So my decisions, it's going to support me in that. That's a decision. And that's step one. And that's the very first step. And I think so many times people skip that step. They just go from diet to diet or book to book or coach to they hop around trying things without firmly deciding that first they are open to this is going to work. This is a decision. I'm
Mhm.
going to change things for me. That's step
Mhm.
number one.
I can give you a personal example of that. I was young, like probably 7 years old, around that, maybe five, somewhere young.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at my grandmother's house in a family reunion, and one of my great aunts rolled in my great grandmother, and she was in a wheelchair, and she had age spots all over her, very, very thin white hair. You could see her scalp,
Yeah.
and very swollen legs. Obviously, she couldn't walk, and everybody loved her, but and she probably wasn't that old because people had their babies early, like 16, 17. So, she's like three generations. She probably was barely reaching 70,
Yeah.
but she looked by today's standard 90, let's say.
Okay.
But I remember looking at her and thinking, well, I just lost my father. He just died. It was a big, horrible thing in my life. And so I was dealing with death, thinking about death. And so I was thinking, so there's my great grandmother, and she looks like that. And that's her story. I mean, that's the end of her life. It's going to be like that. So if we live a long time, then we have to be like that, and I was,
Mm,
in God in those days. And I mean, I still believe in some higher power, but I was raised a little Catholic, and I'm thinking, why would God do that to us? Why would we have to be young and healthy and vital and all, and then go out in life
mm,
like that? And I made a decision right that minute
yeah.
that if there was another way out of this life without going through that, I was
Yeah.
going to find it. And it was a definite decision that
Totally.
my whole life I've drawn to me answers,
That's
so that we age
brilliant.
better. Now I'm 73 and I have much more vitality than
Yeah.
other people my age. And so I feel sorry that people are, in the 70s have a new hip, they're in a wheelchair already. Um, it's not necessary, but
Yeah.
I think you absolutely hit the mark,
Yeah.
right, I mean, exactly on the mark, that it's the belief. If we don't
Yes.
feel like we're aging, even? Are you not paying attention to it? It's just you're living your life and your birthdays come and go. And I think you've got a really critical thing going here.
So
So,
what's interesting is, so you're 73 and you look phenomenal for 73. I would have never guessed that. I'm 48,
thank you.
and people all the time will say to me, "Oh, I can't believe you're 48." And what I want to share about that is, to me, and you probably think the same thing, I think, well, what's 48 supposed to look like? Like, to me, this is good. And you probably think that about 73. Like, this is what it's supposed to look like. So that's an
Yeah, when I
example.
went to my 50th year reunion, I hadn't seen people in many years. I skipped a few reunions. I went back. I couldn't recognize most people until they said their name, and then I could tell that it was them. But I was shocked
Yeah.
because I think they should have all been like,
Yeah.
vital and young and pretty much like I remember them before. And of course, I don't look anything like I looked in high school. You've
Yeah.
definitely changed. Things happen. Actually, nature doesn't really want us to stay here.
Yeah.
Because we're supposed to leave the planet at some point so that the new generations can come in. So you're always working against this powerful force. And each decade, 70, 80, 90 more of that force is driving us out of here.
Makes sense.
Again, thus more DNA damage as we age.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It'd be so interesting. And then also there are things on their way right now, like scientists all over the world are really digging down and really getting close to, they have already an excellent understanding of why we age and how to reverse it.
Yeah. So I want to be careful with one thing that differentiates when I say aging in reverse. So many times people will assume when I say aging in reverse, I just mean like physical outside appearance. And yes, that is great. But we all know, like, chronologically, we can't actually become younger. I'm not going to be 20 again, for instance. I'm going to age with numbers. But when I talk about aging in reverse, it's a way of living that brings back that childlike wonder and childlike state so that you can thrive in all areas, no matter what you believe as far as you want plastic surgery or you don't want plastic surgery or you want to change your body or not. That's another part of it. That's not where I focus for people, because when I can shift their mindset, and the first three pieces of my method with this, then everything appears different to the person. So for instance, I've got a client that mentioned recently, she can't stand in the mirror when she looks at her arms. She said, I all I see is fat arms and I hate my arms, and I just see that. And I know that that's a long path to get her to love her arms if we just focus on what she's eating and how she's working out, because she will never fully see that vision of what she wants herself on those arms. But if I could shift her and she can decide that she's got very toned and strong arms, that she's great, has gratitude for her arms, what they do for her, how they can lift things for her, all those things. And I can get her in that state of belief and that it's happening. She starts changing her actions because of it. And now the diet and the workouts become supportive of that belief. And that's what changes her.
So you started off as a fitness coach and obviously believe in, for example, lifting weights, keep your muscles, your arms toned and all. But so are you saying that she will reach that point of really nicely toned arms and she'll like her arms better, but the place to start is in her beliefs, basically.
Yes. And so I started in nutrition and fitness. And what I saw was that gap. I saw when people had success that was long-term, not a temporary success, long-term, what always changed them was this method. They had a decision around it. And we didn't even mention false assumed truths and vision, which I'll speak into in a minute. But those three things, when they were in place, that's what made the difference for people getting radical results and keeping those radical results. And there's something I want to mention. You might have heard of the be, do, have model. A lot of people think, when I have this, I will be that. Like they'll say, when I'm thin and toned, I will be happy. Or when I'm fit, I'll feel great having longer workouts. Or when this happens, I'll go for that, starting my own business. What I encourage people to do is, when we get clear on our decision and our vision and what's holding us back, those false assumed truths, now we want to start acting as the person that already has those things. So it's a backwards way of doing it, but it's the right way to do it. You start acting as that person that already has those things, and now those results start happening because you're taking the actions of the person that's successful there.
Gosh, that's brilliant. I see why you have an enormous following, because well, first of all, people need to hear the message, but secondly, you just deliver it in such a way that makes it doable
Thank you.
to,
So that method, Donna, we talked on decision because I think it's the most important part. And I find it's one of the most challenging things to get clients to see, like, because they want to tell me the reasons why it doesn't work. And I'm saying, oh, let's just get to a decision. Like, is this, or do you want this or not? Is it happening? And then once we know what's happening, I'll take them through a visualization. Like, I want to know, what does that look like? What does it feel like? What does it smell like? When you are that person that you're envisioning, what does all that mean? Because so many times we skip that part. We just say, I just want to be happier, or I just want to be better. But I want to get into the vision of it. And the example I'll give you for that is if you and I were to both get in a car right now, and I said, okay, let's just go drive. And we're in two separate cars. We're going to end up in all different places. I mean, it depends on how much gas you have in your car, how much time you have. Do you feel like driving? Where do you want to go? There's so many variables. Who knows where we're going to end up? However, if I say, Donna, let's go to New York City, and we're completely excited about our trip to New York City. We're clear we're going to be in New York City by Friday night, and we're excited to do that. You and I will take different methods and amounts of time to get there. I might fly, you might drive, but we're going to end up in New York City because we're super clear on our vision. But we don't do that with our goals, with our health, which is amazing to me. We just say, I want to be out of pain, or I want to feel better, but I want to know, what does that look like? What does it feel like? What are you doing when you're there? How are you living? How are you showing up? If we get clear on that vision, then the method of how we get there gets a lot easier because we're super clear on it. And then the third part of that first step in the method is what I call false assumed truths. You know, I always said I kill fat for a living, which used to mean physically the fat on our bodies, which I can still help with. But what that means now is false assumed truths. It's those beliefs that you've had that are holding you back from results. It's that voice in your head that repeats on a loop 60,000 times a day. I want to address that because we rewire and change that, we're opening up to all new possibilities.
Great. Well, can we use an example I think a lot of women can identify with? I think one of the first things that starts happening is signs of aging is our neck.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I've even heard women that are like 30 say, oh, I hate my neck. I've got lines in my neck. You know, so as you get older, some people's neck could really start to look bad, and some people do pretty well. I noticed that.
Totally.
I think it has a lot. Hormones are definitely involved for sure. I won't go into that, but I noticed that African Americans and Africans, they have more testosterone in their body, and they often have much better looking necks, is what I've noticed. Anyway,
that's a great
let's
example.
take the neck thing because it's a really good example.
Yeah,
and
I love it.
Can we run through the scenario?
Yeah, so it's I hate my neck. All I see is my neck falling down. Okay, and I get it. Like, so you have choices now. Do you want to you have to make a decision first. Is your decision that you want to be comfortable with your neck? Because that's a totally welcome, amazing decision. And I also will share that most people aren't even noticing your neck. It's your own thing it's subjective. Some people don't even notice it. So the question is first, do you want to stop noticing it and be happy with it? That's choice one. Choice number two, do you want to fix it? Because that's another choice. You can go have plastic surgery and fix it. Choice number three, do you want to just learn how to dress so you're covering up your neck? There's lots of choices there. But the first question is, what's your decision? Like, what is it that you want to happen first? Then we can make that happen. Now, I've worked with clients on many different types of people, and people want different answers. Whether you want the plastic surgery to fix it or learn to dress to cover it up, or you want to learn to live with it, those are three options, but you have to have that decision first, not just I hate my neck every day. So that's
okay, perfect.
Yeah, decision. And then what's your vision when you get to that? What does that feel like, look like? What is that? Let's get clear on that. And then what's the false assumed truth holding you back? Let's say you want plastic surgery. You're like, I want that. Well, your false assumed truth might be, I don't have the money for it, or people will judge me, or it doesn't work. It'll make me look pulled and worse. Those are false assumed truths.
Or it puts a lot of toxins in your body and you don't want that kind of toxins, to get through the whole process. And maybe it's not successful because the doctor's not good. It's hard to find doctors. Like, there's a lot of things that get people through.
And the reason I say it's a false assumed truth is that's not factual. It's possible. Maybe that's true, but it's not fact. That 100% of the people that have a neck lift aren't having a bad result, so that's where I say it's not factual. So that may not be the answer for everyone. Maybe you don't want plastic surgery. That's fine. There's other options, but what is your decision first? What's your vision? What does that look and feel like? And then what are your false assumed truths around that? Those three things have to be dialed in first. Otherwise, you're not going to be happy with what you choose. So in the example of the neck, if you don't do that work and you go have plastic surgery and now you're not happy still, well, we never address those other three things. So you have to address that first. Give you a perfect example. I had a woman come into one of my programs and she said, I want to lose 30 pounds. Because I had a hysterectomy. She's telling me this. I had a hysterectomy. My doctor said I'm going to gain 30 pounds, and I did gain 30 pounds. And now I'm miserable. What do I do? Is this even possible for me? So she was coming into me without a decision. She's still in this story. So I said, do you want to lose it? She said, I absolutely. And I said, have you decided? I got her to decide. Then we had to walk through, what is her vision? What does that look and feel like? She went into that. And then what's holding you back? Well, I have a belief because my doctor told me that I was going to gain 30 pounds. So we had to address that first. Once she realized that was a limiting belief, a false assumed truth, she was able to shut that off and lose not just the 30 pounds, but more. And because when you buy into that false assumed truth, you stay stuck in that loop.
Wow, this is so doable. It's great. Yeah. Just learning this technique is fantastic.
Yeah. So after that, Donna, and I don't have to go through all of them, as I can go in as deep or not as deep as you want me to. But
no, please keep going.
Okay, so after that, it's habits, because we're the result of our habits, always. So those three things come before the habits, but then we do have to get in habits, because now once you have that base in place, now we're ready for the habits. And your habits could be a lot of different things. If you're with me, I've got a very specific formula. But your habits could be as simple as, what you're eating each day, what time you're getting up. If you're, whatever it is that your goal is, what are the habits you're doing? Because that's what creates your results. It's those habits. So in the case of what I would teach there is that's when we would start looking at your meals, your workouts, your water, all of those things, because those now become your habits.
Well, can we go a little bit into some of the advice that you give in the book? For example, I was really intrigued by the chapter on hydrate your plate.
Yeah. So most of us are walking around chronically dehydrated and we don't even know it. It shows up in the form of I'm tired, I'm foggy headed, I can't concentrate, I'm hungry, I've got cravings. A lot of things that we are complaining about in our day is a result of being lack of hydration. Even being bloated can be as simple as not drinking enough water. You see, when we don't drink enough water, our body holds on to and retains more water. So it's counterproductive there. So by adding more water into our diet, there's so many benefits for focus, for energy, for sleep, for your appetite, for hunger control, for fat loss, for skin, it goes on and on. So it's not just about drinking more water, it's about upping the volume of your meals, adding in more fruits and vegetables, soups. I'm a huge fan of bone broth soup, but adding in things that are nourishing, but also are hydrating you. It helps everything move along faster. It helps you heal. There's so much goodness in water, and it's something that we're not doing enough of. And it's so simple. And Donna, I love sharing things that we add like water, because so much in the diet industry is about lack, like what you can't have. And I like to focus on how can we add in more of the good things, which makes less room for the bad.
Well, you said a couple of things. Let me think for a minute. So getting back to dehydration, two important things I think people don't realize is that if you don't have enough water, you're going to have right now, a big issue for people is histamine intolerance.
Yeah.
And when you're dehydrated, you will have histamine intolerance. So I think, remember your body's mini cries for water. That was one of the main points that Dr. B, I won't say his last name, made, is that histamine went up. And the other thing is histamine, when your histamine is high, you aren't going to sleep. So there's a connection with that too. So you're right on right there. So I'm glad you said that. I hope people, I just wanted to point that out. So because you said it quickly, I wanted people to see it.
Yeah. It's so simple. And most people are not drinking enough water. They think they are, they're not. And it's
but I think the also extremely important thing is they don't realize that fruits and vegetables are hydrating, that you don't just have water, and they're very important. And then what you said, like traditionally around the world, you see that people will usually have like the Japanese will have a little bowl of miso soup with every meal. Then they'll have green tea at every meal, because hot, warm soups and teas and so on with a meal are definitely helping
Yes.
digestion and hydration too. So, it's not a new concept. They knew
Yeah.
this for thousands of years, really.
And then with nutrition, which is also a huge component of habits, what I want to share is this. And I teach a very specific method of eating, which is really easy for anyone to follow. It's based on eating unprocessed, natural, real foods. I don't know of any nutritionist, doctor that would have a problem with what I share, because it really is based on natural, real foods. But
Mm-hmm.
what I really want people to understand is that when you eat in a way that's healing and anti-inflammatory for your body, like that helps you thrive, you get your body to a state of being super clean and natural. So now you get really clear, when something you're eating is affecting it negatively. And the example I like to give for that is if you walk by a body of water and it's super dirty, like picture muddy, trashy water, it's really mucky, and you throw another piece of trash in, you won't even notice that you've thrown more trash in it. However, if you walk by a really beautiful, clear body of water, it's perfect, it's pristine, and we throw one piece of trash in, we can notice it right away. I want your bodies working like that. I want you to know and be able to connect the dots that I ate pizza and I don't feel good now, and now it's why. Because when you know that, you have power and you have control. So many times I'll hear, I'm trying to eat healthy, or I've started eating healthy, but now this is affecting me. Well, that's a good thing. We want that because this is what gives you that power to know. I mean, how powerful is that to know that I can feel amazing and I can make a choice to have the cake or pizza, but this is what it's going to feel like when I do it. So now you have control around this.
Well, also another thing I've noticed too is that most of the people in America, unfortunately, after all of us have worked for years to try to get people to wake up, you go to the grocery store, a normal grocery store, not Whole Foods, or even in Whole Foods, people are buying, there's a lot of junk stuff even in health food stores. So, but especially in your grocery stores, people are checking out with baskets full of horrible stuff.
Yes.
And if your body's eating that all the time, it doesn't know the difference. But when you give up, let's say all the flour products, you're not going to have any, which means you're not going to also have gluten, for example. Then you wait 10 days, 2 weeks or something, and then you go ahead and add in a piece of toast or whatever. That's when you notice it. Because I think the body just is so trying to stay alive that it adapts to this awful diet that we've had.
Totally. And so many complaints around aging. A lot of pain, swelling, inflammation, baggy eyes, like a lot of cosmetic and how you feel. So much can be changed by changing things in your diet. And the big things that I do have people eliminate, at least for the 10 days, is gluten and wheat, grains, actually, all grains, dairy. I have them take out sugar, like refined sugar. And I've dabbled with people taking out coffee sometimes. Because that tends to be a crutch that dehydrates people and also wreaks some havoc on hormones too.
Ooh, let me add something here too, because this is gene stuff. So I was introduced to coffee as a young kid, and I was weird all day long, and I didn't like the smell of it. I never grew up eating it and drinking it. But, like you said, you read about the benefits. It's got all these polyphenols, it's good for the bacteria in the gut, and you read all this, and you think, gee, maybe I should be drinking some coffee every day. Well, the genes help because there's a gene called CYP1A2. That's the liver gene. And so that means the coffee is going through your liver, and your liver is processing it basically. But if you have a variant in that CYP1A2, it takes you a long time to clear that caffeine. Same with chocolate. Or one of these, drinks that people take to stay stimulated all day long. If you drink 2 or 3 or 4, and then it's close to bedtime, you still have so much caffeine. Or let's say you go out to dinner and you have a piece of chocolate cake and a little cup of cappuccino. With people with the variants, 1 or 2 variants of the CYP1A2, they're going to be wired like at 3 or 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. They could write a book or something. That was so much energy left. So that the genes can give you a little bit of a clue there. But even with that, you could still have like 1 cup in the morning if you want. And then also make sure it's early so it's cleared. I thought that was and I have two copies of
Yeah.
CYP190. So
I would imagine I probably do too, because I'm super affected by it. You know, I didn't drink coffee my whole life. And I started drinking it a few years ago, like when the whole bulletproof trend, and I thought, oh, I'm going to try it. And I just never felt right on it. So it switched to like a treat once in a while, but I've realized I thrive a lot better without the coffee. I'm not anti-caffeine as much, but coffee tends to do that for me.
So Bulletproof Coffee, I'm glad you brought that up because it was such a trend. And again, the genes is where another reason for it's good to know your genes. You don't have to know your genes, but there's a lot of amazing information hidden in your DNA. And here's a perfect example. So people will drink the Bulletproof Coffee. They put in the MCT and the butter and all that. And they think, oh my gosh, I love this. It sustains my energy all day long. I don't have any appetite. It's great for me. And then you look at their genes, and they have a gene that puts them at risk for Alzheimer's and cardiovascular disease called ApoE4, that particular variant. For that person, they have to be on a diet where they don't have saturated fat. You know, they need to have like fish oil and avocado and olive oil and so on. Those are the safer oils, but not saturated fat, not butter, for example, or a lot of animal fat too. So again, I was with a friend in my kitchen. She was like raving over the coffee, and I right that second looking at her genes, and I thought, oh my God, she's drinking this coffee every morning. She is at risk for the. She had one copy of the ApoE4. So I again, it's another piece that's not really new. Like nutritional genomics is a 30-year-old field, and it's finally starting to come into the forefront, and it's going to help, complement or help us take nutrition to a whole new level. But everything you said is still so foundational, so basic that we add in the piece that you're talking about.
So what I will share too, and I do like Dave Asprey, and I love what he's created, and I don't.
Yeah, too. I love Dave.
I don't think Bulletproof is bad for the masses, but I will share this. I take a different approach with nutrition, and I look at food as healing. Everything we're eating should be helping us to thrive, right? And to me, I don't see the health benefit in having the coffee and the butter. Like, what is that adding to us? MCT oil, sure, I get there's some health benefit there. But to me, I would rather people have a nourishing breakfast where you're getting lots of antioxidants, because antioxidants combat oxidative stress. And when we go on these keto diets or these extreme ways of fasting, we're not getting enough of that in. So I want heavy amounts of phytonutrients. I want antioxidants. So to me, I would rather wake up and have a healthy smoothie and get some great vegetables and fruits in and some healthy fats.
Fiber for your microbes.
Yeah, get all of that in. That's going to help. That helps me thrive for the day versus just giving myself some fake focus with the caffeine that's where I stand on it. So it's not that it's bad. I just look at everything as, is this actually helping me with my vision and where I want to go? And the smoothie choice or a nourishing breakfast is going to be more powerful for many people than a coffee like that.
That's perfect. And also everything you're talking about, that is also how you do DNA repair. And that is reversing aging, because we can, as we repair our DNA damage, we will age much more slowly and can even age backwards. Although people think, oh, that's not possible. It is if you can repair your DNA. So what you said was perfect. I agree with you 100%. Do you have a favorite recipe for smoothies in the morning that you like to?
There's not. I vary up my breakfast because I'm always trying to get a new nutrients, but the simplest thing to do would be, I always have frozen organic fruit in my freezer, just as a great backup. So a handful, I'll mix maybe pitaya, even a small amounts of pitaya, which is dragon fruit, which gives it a great taste. And then a lot of berries, because berries are super low glycemic and really high in antioxidants. So a handful of berries. I'll mix up my greens. Sometimes spinach, sometimes kale, whatever greens I can think. I don't do spinach every day because the histamines. And for me, I am sensitive to that.
It's high in oxalates too. I always tell people to stay away from spinach because it's the highest of all.
Yeah. So that's a rare thing that I'll use spinach. I'll put a couple carrots. Then I'll do a scoop of some type of nut butter. I'll vary it up. Maybe it's almond butter. Maybe it's sun butter, some type of that. I'll add a scoop of collagen protein, a huge fan of that, lots of water. And it's really simple. Maybe even add my probiotics in there. But just simple. I'm looking for how many fruits and vegetables can I get in? Can I add some collagen? Because I'm a huge fan of collagen. I know you are too. And then I want a healthy fat and hydration. And I feel amazing after that.
Well, you know what I'm a huge fan of? And I was listening to your podcast, scrolling down, looking at all the options, and I saw you had a podcast on sun butter. And I was so excited because I love sun butter. It is my favorite. Almonds, cashews, which are so popular now, they're super high in oxalates too. But sun butter, especially from the sun butter company, they that's the place, that's the butter you go to. Or seed butter in this case. And children with autism have a real big issue with oxalates, and that's their go-to replacement for peanut butter. So I was so excited you did that interview.
Yeah,
wow, we think alike.
I love it. I love it.
I love it. It's almost addictive.
Yes, it is really good. And I have a thing where I'll take raw cacao and mix it with a little bit of coconut oil, if you can do coconut oil. And then I'll add, or you could just melt like the Hue brand chocolate, any type of chocolate that you would do, but the dark, and then I'll add some sun butter on it and I'll freeze it. So it tastes like a peanut butter cup, but
oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. You know, for people that are going to eat chocolate, I like the Lily's very dark chocolate, because they're using, they don't have any sugar in their bar. And that really makes a difference when you have the chocolate without the sugar in it. So I would suggest you try the Lily's bars.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, gosh, I could talk to you forever. I guess we have to come to an end here, but are there any last minute thoughts? Like, can you tell people how to go to the podcast to learn from you? Because they're very inspiring.
Yeah, thank you. So you can find me at nataliejill.com, links to everything. I have a community called Aging in Reverse. It's aginginreverse.me.
You can buy the book.
Yep, buy the book. And in the community, we conquer, we have a theme every month. So like some months, next month, for instance, is on hormones. The one after that is on sleep. And that I facilitate, but I also bring in experts to share and teach their knowledge. And it's just a great community for that, where we support all things aging. And then, yes, I do have a podcast called Leveling Up, Creating Everything from Nothing. I will share, my podcast is in self-help. It's very much this mindset shift. And we talk about things, not just health and fitness. We talk about business. We talk about how people overcame massive setbacks. And I think it really all ties together, though, because as I've shared, the underlying thing with everyone is that decision, the vision, and the false assumed truths. And you'll notice on my podcasts, with 180 interviews there, every success story went through those things. So it really does align well. And then I'm on social media at Natalie Jill Fit everywhere.
Great. Well, thank you so much. So, Natalie,
thank you.
Your work is great. Keep it up. I know you will. You're at a great age. You know, here's the other thing I want to say, that usually, I mean, I've been around for a long time, more than 30 years doing this work. And it's so amazing to me that people in their 40s are real into aging right now. And that is the time to start doing everything you're talking about. Then let's just see how we're going to age, you know? So it's going to be like, we have so much more potential than we even realize.
Oh yeah.
When you start young, like at your age, the sky's the limit.
You know, it's so funny, Donna. I always tell everyone, you're not too old and it's not too late. I didn't even, just like you said you got into this 30 years ago. I really started dialing in and focusing on health, nutrition, and fitness in my late 30s, early 40s. And what I saw as I was aging well, according to people were always so shocked by my age. And I thought, but this is normal. This is how we should age. Why is no one talking about this? And that's why I shifted from not just focusing on workouts and nutrition, but really focusing on aging and the mindset around it, because I think it's very, very important. And there's not a lot of people talking about it.
Very important. So thank you so much for your work. So Natalie Jill, keep it up. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.